Hi, everyone. I hope this message finds each of you so very well. I'm speaking to you from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I could not be more delighted to have the pleasure of interviewing Kim Cantin, a former medical device executive whose resilience, strength, and spirit will leave you in awe. Kim endured one of the most devastating natural disasters in recent U.S. history, the 2018 Montecito Mudslides. That tragedy claimed the lives of 23 people, including Kim's beloved husband and son, and left her daughter miraculously rescued after being buried alive. Out of that unimaginable loss, Kim emerged with an unwavering commitment not just to survive, but to heal, to love, and to inspire. Kim's 7-time award-winning memoir, Where Yellow Flowers Bloom, is a luminous testament to the human capacity for hope and grace. Her voice has touched millions through her appearances on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, Rob Lowe's powerful documentary, Madness in the Hills, and even in the pages of Reebok founder Joe Foster's How to Survive and Thrive. Kim now serves on the board of One Legacy, championing organ and donor donation, and she continues to speak across the country, helping others navigate grief, renewal, and the deeper meaning of perseverance. I'm looking forward to welcoming Kim, who is joining us from Southern California, for what will surely be a deeply moving and unforgettable interview. We'll explore the life-altering tragedy of 2018 that claimed her beloved husband Dave and her son Jack, and the miraculous rescue of her daughter Lauren, who was buried alive and survived. We'll discuss Kim's 7-time award-winning memoir, Where Yellow Flowers Bloom, and reflect on what it means to accept help, lean into vulnerability, and recognize the profound signs and synchronicities that affirm that love never dies. We'll also talk about the unexpected glimmers of hope that guided Kim through darkness and the extraordinary ways her son Jack continues to connect with her and Lauren through a medium. Kim's journey is not only one of survival, but of soulful transformation, a life now richer in meaning, connection, and grace. This promises to be an incredible interview that will touch your heart and awaken your spirit. Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life. Hi, Kim. A warm, heartfelt welcome to Grief and Rebirth podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's so nice to be here, Irene.
You have such an amazing story. It's profound. So let's have everybody get to know who was Kim before all this trauma happened to you. So what was your life like before this tragedy that claimed your husband and your son?
Oh, my life, Irene, I would say I was living the dream. I was living in a beautiful part of the country near Santa Barbara, California, called Montecito. I had a fabulous family. We all loved one another. My son was a junior in high school, and he was an Eagle Scout. And he started his own teen organization. He co-founded it with 2 other boys called Teens on the Scene, and they would go out every month and do something in the community to help. And it expanded to 5 high schools and over 200 teens.
Wow.
And my daughter, Lauren, was 14 at the time. She was Little Miss Joy to V, and she was in musicals and loved theater and chatting with her girlfriends. And my husband, he was an executive as well in medical device. We met at work, and we had very similar careers. And he was very involved in the community. He was the scoutmaster in Montecito and revived the troop that had been dwindled down to 2 scouts before he came. And then when he came, he got it going again, and now it was up to like 20 or 30, and really made an impact in the community for those kids, and was really a role model, and almost like a second dad to so many of those young men. And we were still in love. We still went on dates, and I knew every day I was grateful to have him. And we had our amazing Irish setter dog, who was my best dog ever, Chester, and he was loved by everyone at all the play parks. Everyone just Chester loved everyone loved him. So I was, sometimes I helped teach Sunday school, and I was in charity league with my daughter. So we were very involved in the community. We had such a great family and a family life, and we were blessed. I was just blessed, and I lived in just paradise. And I would pinch myself going, I live in paradise, and I'm lucky. And it was just like, I'm lucky. I knew I was lucky.
What I love is that you express such gratitude, even then, before what happened to you.
Yeah. No, I remember saying in that house, I go, honey, when we got that, I said, this is my forever home. And there was a retirement community across the street. And I said, when I'm old, just put me in a wheelchair and just push me across the street. I said, but I want to be tending a rose garden here when I'm retired. That's all I want to do is be gardening and all that stuff.
And just like so many of us in life, we have all this wonderful stuff we think we've got it pat. We think we all have the answers. And then you had a mudslide come into your life. And so tell us about your personal experience with it, which is unbelievable. And then tell us about Lauren, who was just 14 when this tragedy struck and was literally buried alive and miraculously survived. And didn't they start calling her the miracle mud princess?
Yeah. She was the mud princess. She's like the phoenix rising.
Wow.
So my experience was, it started off just to frame up, in December, there was a big wildfire, and it was the largest wildfire in California history at the time, called the Thomas Fire. And it was roaring toward Santa Barbara. And we evacuated, I think, 3 to 4 times. The house did not burn down. There was ash everywhere. It was really traumatizing to the community. And then in January, early January, so all of December was the wildfire. It was the Christmas, the holidays that didn't happen, no holiday parties, nothing, right? No mail was being delivered. Then we kind of just side relief, and we start the beginning of the year, and heavy rain was going to come. But what's interesting about Santa Barbara, it's where the mountains meet the sea. There's a range of mountains. Then there's about 4 miles of land, and then it's the Pacific Ocean. So it's a real striking difference where the mountains meet the sea. And so now, because of the Thomas Fire, those mountains had no foliage. And what was left on those mountains was big car-sized boulders sitting precariously on the hillside. And I remember looking at them, Irene, and saying, I feel so bad for those people who have houses near those boulders on the mountain. Because we were lower down. We weren't up in the mountain. We were down in the village. And I just felt sad for them. And we would watch the news, and we had the alerts on our phone, aware and beware. And heavy rain was forecasted to come in on January 8th. And so my husband did not take a trip to Europe that he was supposed to for work. He stayed back. And we watched all the news, what to do. We got the house ready, cleared out the drains, had the sandbags. We had our car staged across at our neighbor's house so that the sandbags could be up. And we weren't in mandatory evacuation. And so we knew, like, hey, if we hear heavy rain, we'll get up, we'll get out. And
but that's amazing. You took all the precautions.
Yeah. I even had a hotel room reserved if we needed it. But we were just watching. What do we do? What did they say to do? So anyway, probably about 3 a.m, we were woken to very heavy rain, and we all got up, and we said, okay, get your clothes on. We're gonna leave. And my husband went to look around the house. I saw him checking on the garage, and he yelled in and he said, we're taking in water. And he goes, we got about, 2 inches of water in the garage already. And we're like, wow. And what happened was, it was, I think, half an inch in 15 minutes came down. But then on the hill, which we didn't know, there were water mains, and the water mains burst. So 7 water mains released all their water. So it was like Niagara Falls being released on top of torrential half an inch in 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
And now you remember the mountain that was denatured? It had, it was like a plasticity. I'm not saying the right word, but what's left is the ash on the ground is like a plastic, and it starts sliding down. So the mountain started to slide down, and it took those car-sized boulders with it. And we were in the house, and all of a sudden I was looking out the bay window as I was getting my clothes on, and it went from, it's 3 a.m. It went from pitch black into this eerie yellow, like a nuclear bomb yellow, like you would imagine. And I said, Dave, something really wrong just happened. What I didn't know, there was a big gas explosion in the town that was lighting up the sky. So, and we'd start hearing zing, zing, zing and what they were, boulders hitting boulders as they jammed up under the underpass. So there was a lane across from us, from the street and the creek, and a neighbor saw what happened while I was in the house. So he saw a 30-foot wave of mud, debris, down trees, and boulders plume up 30 feet and crash down on our house with my family in it. And my husband I saw my husband open the front door. He was getting his flashlight, to check on things, because we were all like, let's go. We got to get out. And I saw him open the front door, and he slammed it right away. And he said, let's go now. Back door now. And he ran past me in the living room. And he goes, Kim, get out, get out. And he ran out the door toward the pool, and it was a glass door. And I said, I put my hand to get out the door, but my hand got stuck because the mud was roaring through the house and put pressure on that door jamb. So I could not pull my hand out or open the door. So he was on the glass on the other side of me saying, get out, get out, get out. And then he washed away. And so the last thing my husband said was trying to save my life. And then I went under. I watched my dog. He was laying on the floor. I saw him, get covered in the mud and wash away. And I went under, and it felt like I was in a trash compactor. I was hit by everything so hard. And I said, I'd heard about seeing the light. And I said, God, if you want me to die right now, and I'm a type A. So for me to say, I'm just going to do what you want me to do, I said, you want me to die right now, show me the white light. Because I was in so much pain. I was just being pushed, and granite and furniture, everything was hitting me. And I must have knocked out and blacked out, and I ragdolled. And after I said, God, if you want me to die right now, I will. And I just ragdolled, which is not common for a type A person to ragdoll. And I think that probably helped save me. But I ended up...
You mean, in other words, like
I just kind of just relaxed. I didn't fight it. I was like, if you want me to die, I just went with it. And the next thing I know, I was coming to, I must have been unconscious, and I was on a debris pile, and I was wrapped in electrical wire, severely injured. And to the left of me, I heard a roaring river, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to roll into that. And to the right, as I pried my eye open to see, it was electrical transformer and electrical wires exploding. And I said, I can't go that way. And I thought I was in my backyard because I didn't know where I was, didn't know what happened. And I yelled and yelled and yelled, and it was like Armageddon, like no one was there. And I just said, I've got to conserve my energy. I had a little a turtleneck on from the night before. I just threw on my clothes before, and I just kind of tried to roll it up to get warmth because I was freezing. It was January, and it had been raining, so it was freezing out there. And I had big gaps in my turtleneck, and I was pulling out, with my one hand that worked, big pieces of wood and debris. And so then I said, I just prayed. I prayed, and I just tried to keep as quiet as I could. And then a little while later, I think maybe the sun was starting to come up, and I saw in the distance a red light and a white light. And I'm like, oh, that's like an ambulance, but it wasn't spinning. But I said, I'm going to yell. And I said, help, 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 help. And I heard a clomp, 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 clomp up the, you could tell it was just like mud piles of sludge. And he goes, this is Garrett. I'm coming to get you. And then he said, who was in your home? And so I said, my husband, Dave, my son, Jack, my daughter, Lauren, our dog, Chester. And then he said the most, terrible thing. He said, "Where was your home?" And he said, "Was." And I thought I was in my backyard, so I was able to move this hand and I went straight back. And unbelievably, because it was 30 square miles. There was piles everywhere. There was cars up in trees, crushed like a soda can. Sheds, those tough sheds up in trees, everything. And, where I pointed was the exact pile that Lauren was in.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
2 of the rescuers went toward there, and, so it was that helped them get to her, but they didn't get her really for another 6 hours, 5, 6 hours. So, that was my experience, and then I got to the hospital, and, I had to have 2 surgeries that night. I had to learn to walk again. I was gonna be a long haul in the hospital. I was eggplant purple. It looked like someone took a wire brush to my body, and, then in the hospital, I heard the door open, it was a nurse. She says, "Do you have a daughter named Lauren?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "They just rescued her." And my whole body just went, "Oh my God." And then I'm like, "Where's Dave and Jack?" And what I'd heard what happened to Lauren, after, I'm in the hospital and the surgeries and everything, is that she had run when my husband said, "Get dressed, we're getting out of here." She quickly ran to get her rain boots, the ones that go to your knees, and that probably saved her legs. But she got, as she was coming out to leave, she couldn't get out. The mud was already chest deep, and she was pinned against, the wall, and then rose to the ceiling and was drowning in the mud. And then, at one point she says, she thought her hips were gonna break because furniture was compressing it. And then, she was just rushed away, like, there was movement, I think, when the house was falling apart, because the house was obliterated. There was not even rebar left in the pool. It was obliterated. Everything gone. And, she was buried alive for 6 hours under 20 feet of mud with just a pocket of air the size of a volleyball with a little tiny hole like a straw to breathe. And she would push on her entombment. The book covers
What a
all.
blessing, though. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, the in the book, she writes about, how she stayed alive, and what she was thinking about when buried alive, and her it was a testament to the human will. And then they finally heard her because she was yelling, 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 and, with the gas leak, it was hard to hear, right? They couldn't use power tools. So, they got her out, I think, you know, 8 hours after she initially got there, and, it was kept her rescue was shown around the world because it was really like a phoenix rising, like, "Oh my god, there's a this out of this incredible pile," which had a roof on it, a car on it, an electrical all this stuff. This 14-year-old girl emerges, and they said, "Can we carry you to the ambulance?" And she says, "No, I'll walk." And it was stunning. "No, I'll walk." And she was injured. But she's, "I'm walking." And they obviously
And
helped her
she had those boots on.
boots on, which, but think about 62 homes, decimated, and all the broken glass from the broken windows that is running by your feet, and the live electrical wires, right?
Wow.
So it was Armageddon.
Oh my God. And how'd you first learn that Dave and Jack had not survived?
Yeah, so they did a test run for me the first day. So I had surgery the first night. The next morning, they came in and what they called was a trial run. Some of the people that were there to help me, they wanted to see who I needed in the room for the bad news. And they did it first with my dog, and they said, "We found Chester." And then it was the next morning, those same people came in, the priest, the nun, I think my parents, and they said, he said, "We found Dave." And I said, "Alive?" And they said, "No." And I said, "Are you sure?" And, so I found out then, and then Jack was just missing, right? They're like, "Where was he in the house?" And, "Okay, we're out searching, and we're gonna search where the pool used to be, and we'll," all that stuff, and, you start counting the days, how long can someone survive? And,
It's unbelievable. Before we get to, because I want to ask you, because you eventually opened up through mediumship and you connected with them, but tell us about Jack and Dave because they each left amazing legacies. And like you and I were talking about, I got the message, Saul has to go. Many lessons will be learned from his death. Well, your two guys have certainly left wonderful things
They have. And, it's
behind them also.
they say you kind of sometimes what I hear is sometimes you get dreams of your loved ones who passed on close to when you're going to pass. And my husband never told me about his dreams. He never really had dreams that he told me much about. But recently, within the 2 weeks before, the week before, he goes, I had a dream about my late brother, Michael. He had a brother who died at 17 from a congenital disease that they can now fix. And he was telling me, because Dave had fallen and he had a broken finger from baseball, and his wedding ring he had to get cut off because it was swelling and he couldn't get it off. So in a plane they had to cut it off. And so his brother was telling him, get the replacement wedding ring. And we're thinking like, gosh, it's Christmas time. We're spending a lot of money. Do we really need to do it now? And I'm like, let's go do it now. And but Dave's legacy, he was such. I mean, he was a self-made man. He had the paper route as a young kid to make extra money. Always worked. He was a man of faith. He was very active in the church growing up. Big baseball player. When his parents divorced and there was no money for his education, he just took a job and then said, "I'm going to take out loans to make it happen for himself." And he just worked really, really hard. He stayed back with his mom, who was devastated with the divorce, to make sure she was fine and helped her with, so she could stay in her house. So he was just a good guy.
He was a good guy. Yeah.
And then, I couldn't have picked a better husband for me. He was so supportive of me and my career and our life together, and so loving. I never, ever, ever had to worry about him being disloyal. He was just salt of the earth, awesome guy. And then he was asked because Jack was in Cub Scouts, and the moms all saw Dave and how excited he was at the meetings, and they're like, Kim, do you think he'd be our Cub Master or Scout Master? And I said, ask him. And they did, and it was probably the most meaningful thing he did in his life. He loved to he reinvigorated the Montecito Troop 33, which was down to two scouts, and he brought it back up to like about 20. And his legacy is, in scouting, the highest award is Eagle Scout, and only 1 to 3% of scouts ever get Eagle. And I think every single one of the original boys that matriculated up with Jack into this Troop 33, I think there was 14 of them, they all got Eagle Scout, and they did it, I think, to honor Dave.
Absolutely.
Such a impact. They said, what a mentor. And because he was a leader at work, he taught them leadership. He did everything.
And he passes that forward through them, through each of them.
Yes. And Jack was an old soul and just a sweet guy, funny. He had a very funny, dry sense of humor, hysterical. He was a big gamer. But he was an old soul and had so much compassion when he would help at Safety Town, which is a summer camp to help kids learn, little young tykes, 2 and 3-year-olds, to learn street signs and how to get on a bus and all that stuff. My daughter would say, Jack's really good with young kids. And he's kind. And he got to Eagle Scout, and he refurbished a school. There's a school in town that was underfunded. It was a Title I school, and it was really dilapidated. And he went and redid their whole basketball recess area and repainted all their backboards a beautiful cobalt blue, and did a stencil of the dolphin on it, and school bus yellow posts. And all the 5th graders wrote him a note and said, "Thanks for making our school beautiful again."
Oh my God!
And that is what moved Jack. And he co-founded a teen group called Teens on the Scene. So both
that legacy follows him also.
Yes, I think people who learned about Jack's life after his passing learned a lot about a kid who lived a lot in his short life, and who did pay it forward. He did kindness. He did a lot of loving gestures in this world, and he added a lot of laughter. He was a funny guy.
Sounds absolutely wonderful, and I'm sure he still is. Because I
know
guy.
And what comes through in some of the writings that I've had. He still has a sense of humor, and that's how I know it's him.
That's how you know. And so the first thing that happened to you is you opened to the world of mediumship. Now, had you believed in it before?
I didn't have much context with it, just because my life had not crossed my paths. I wasn't not open to it. I just didn't, but I was in the hospital, and my friend, a neighbor friend, came in, Marcia, and she said, "I've reached out to Suzanne Giesman, who's a renowned medium." And she goes, she has a wait list that's forever. And I've asked, because of your situation with Jack being missing, could she help you? And I'm like, okay, I'm open to anything. I'm open to any help. We got to find Jack. He was one of the missing. There was two missing, a 2-year-old and then Jack. And so graciously, Suzanne, albeit how busy she is, she got me a reading within 90 days. And Dave came through and Jack came through. And my first question was, Jack, where are you? You know, but yeah. And then interestingly enough, we were working on the search for Jack. Once I learned to walk again, I started to engage to say, where are we? And I was talking to the detective, saying, I want an update. You know, where are we looking for Jack's remains? And I was by a little store, and he goes, well, let me give you my name and number. You can call me anytime. And so I dipped into this little store, the Lily store, and I knew the shop owner. I said, Linda, sorry to bug you. I said, I need a pen and paper. And so I quickly wrote down the detective's name and number. And after I hung up from the detective, I felt totally responsible to tell her why I interrupted her so rudely in her store. And I go, that was about Jack, and everyone knew about Jack in town. The whole town wanted Jack found. I think so much of California wanted Jack found because they just were, their heart bled for Jack and Lydia. And so she goes, I said, it was for the search for Jack. And she said the most important thing, she goes, do you know Catherine Weisenberg? I go, no. She goes, then you need to. I go, she's kind of under the radar in town here, but she can probably help you. She has communication talents that you and I don't. And so I reached out to Catherine, and Catherine Weisenberg does it with writing. It's almost like she's having a conversation with the person, and you can ask questions. It's not like I'm seeing someone in a blue shirt. No, it's like almost like she's got the bat phone, and that was immensely helpful. Because, I mean, I was on like, Jack, where are you? Help us find you. It's 30 square miles. But yeah, it was so healing to me. It was so healing to me to have the writings and the connections.
Didn't Jack give you an important message in the beginning that began this 3-year search for him?
Yeah, what began a 3-year search was Jack said, I will be found. I don't know where, I don't know when, but God told me I will be found.
Wow. And how do you
Catherine
feel?
says he said it like he was just very dogmatically, just putting like a staff in the ground. I will be found.
And how do you still feel his presence? He was found 3 years later, and that itself, we're going to talk about your book, but that itself is worth reading the book about because, my God.
Oh, and how we got there. Yeah. I mean,
my God.
People say they read the book in like 3 days because they're flying. Like, how did this all happen?
Right. I mean, it's amazing. And how do you feel Jack's presence today? Because he's evolving on the other side now, isn't he? I mean, you've been getting...
I feel like I get it. For him, there's a light in my house that there's 2 lights that I think he messes with, and other people have been in the house and like, that's Jack. I think he messes with electricity a little bit. And also I get pictures back. Remember, I lost everything. Everything washed away. Everything, right? I didn't have a needle and thread. I didn't have a toilet bowl plunger. I didn't have a passport. I didn't have anything. And all my pictures.
Oh my God.
And the kids' artwork. Those are the treasures. And so what happens is I get sometimes someone say, look, I just came across this picture of Jack, and they send it to me. And I'm like, thank you. Like, I think those moments, and like in the book, right? Valentine's Day, 404 days after the tragedy on Valentine's Day, there had been, because of the mudslide, a website posted of lost and found. So people, if they found stuff in the mud, they could post it, and then I could say, oh, that's mine or not mine or whatever. So all of a sudden on Valentine's Day, I was in a car going to LAX, and one of the other mudslide survivors texted me. She goes, there's something on the lost and found site that's yours. It's an ultrasound and it has your name on it. And I go, what? And so I called, and it was the ultrasound of Jack in my belly. It was found over 404 days later in perfect condition in the elements, wedged between 2 rocks at the beach.
Wow.
And it had been in a little those little 3-hole sheets, the sleeves, right? And perfect condition. On Valentine's, I get the ultrasound in my belly.
It's amazing. And there's another thing that you found that had profound significance, or what that was found for you, and it was a lime green pig, right? And that became
A
a
symbol.
profound symbol for you. So share that, and then you also talk about that in the book, which is amazing.
Yeah, so, I had another friend who's quite spiritual. She said she would told me before about this Japanese, art called kintsugi, I think, and it's the art of, if something breaks, like a beautiful porcelain bowl, in Japan, they will glue it back together with gold paint, and sometimes that broken bowl or cup is actually more beautiful after it's been repaired, showing where the cracks were. And kind of the theory of that is you can become more beautiful by your scars and don't hide them. And so I had bought for Lauren's bathroom a little cheap, shabby chic lime green wooden pig that I thought was cute as a little decor in her bathroom. And, it's like 2 feet or whatever, and by a foot or whatever. It's a cute little thing. Well, it was posted that someone found this pig, but the poor piggy had a broken snout. He had lost his tail. He had a broken hoof. And so when I said it was mine, they gave it to an artist who knew how to do Kanzuki. And they repainted the pig lime green, but did his snout in gold, his hoof that was broken in gold, his new tail is gold. And I have him, and he is more beautiful. And it's so meaningful for me. It is my I look to it of there's beauty in the scars, and don't hide them, you know.
Look at you and me. We've both been through so much trauma, and we've healed. In a way, the gold paint is within us. We've done our healing, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we're helping other people with what's
yeah,
happened for us.
yeah.
And now this opens me up to ask you to tell everyone about your 7-time award-winning memoir, Where Yellow Flowers Bloom. You explore what it truly means to receive support, embrace vulnerability, and recognize those extraordinary signs and synchronicities we're talking about. Tell us about the deeper meaning behind the yellow flowers, and just tell everyone what you'd like them to know about your book. It's such a beautiful
Yeah,
book.
yeah, I started writing it during COVID, thinking I just gotta write it down what happened so I don't forget it for my maybe future
Right.
grandchildren if
Where
I
were you staying, by the way, after your home was destroyed?
Oh, I was in a rental for a while, and then I was able to get a new home, but not it's about 7 minutes from our other one, but I didn't wanna be right. I needed to be far enough away. So, yeah, I started writing during COVID, we're all in the house, not going anywhere, and I wanted to do it to remember, but as I started writing it, Irene, I'm like, "You know what? I think this could help someone because it showed me go from desperate grief to peaceful acceptance, and all the things in the journey, and the help of the intuitives that helped in the search, the wisdom I was gaining. And I'm like, this could help others, especially those who've lost someone traumatically, suddenly, and that I'm still standing and still have love and hope in my heart and for the future. And where yellow flowers bloom. So remember, the mudslide was 30 square miles, and it was like a needle in the haystack to be able to find what we were looking for.
I was so disheartening.
Yeah. And also, if you remember, 62 homes, right? Destroyed. All their garage contents, all the insulation, all the paint buckets, everything. So what we had a university anthropology team help us in the search with their equipment, and the professor said, who's a forensic, I think, biologic forensic archaeologist, and she says, nothing should grow in this soil. It's got a lot of arsenic in it. Nothing should really grow. Yet the pile that we ultimately found some of Jack's remains in was graced and covered with beautiful yellow flowers. And a student came to my house afterwards, and she had cut some of those yellow flowers. And she said, "Here, life found a way." And I said, "No, love found a way."
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So the yellow flowers for me are beauty where you don't expect it. Look for the beauty where you don't expect it.
It's such an inspiring book, from what happened to you to where you went to and what you made of it. And I have to credit You used a lot of different therapies. You were open to healing. And my goodness, could you tell us some of the things that you did? You must have had so much trauma stored inside your body. The profound grief that you experienced. My goodness, where did you start and all right, you're open to mediumship, that's helping. I've had the same experience, but now what else did you do to help?
Yeah. The first thing I said to Lauren, I said, "Lauren, honey," I said, "neither one of us have ever been through anything like this, and we're gonna need a lot of help. So let's be open to it." And so I was just more open to it. So, there was grief therapy, there was talk therapy, then realizing I had PTSD from being washed away. There's a technique called EMDR, tapping therapy, that helps soften the nervous system. Somatic touch therapy that helps soften and regulate the nervous system from the trauma. I did Reiki energy healing. I do Reiki, which is really I didn't know much about that, but that's profound. I did a whole mix I went to widows group, I went to a survivors group of the similar survivors that we all went through that the hospital ran. So I just dedicated, and look, I still do it. I still do it. I got some Reiki going on after this interview, right? Like I still committed, and I still do my EMDR because it was a pretty traumatic event, and sudden traumatic death, which is what I experienced, right? Losing Dave and Jack, is different from anticipatory death. I'm not saying one's better or compared to the other. They're different. In anticipatory, like my dad just died at 86, I knew it was coming. Bad dementia. I had my time to say goodbye. He lived 86 great years. He wasn't robbed of anything, right? I'm happy about his transition for him. And sudden traumatic's different. It's compounded, right? You've got trauma and you've got grief and you've got these compounding things. So you look for experts. And so, like I learned from, there's an expert, Jennifer Levin, PhD, she's an expert on sudden traumatic death and helps people with that. She's got podcasts and stuff, just on sudden traumatic and like how to heal from sudden traumatic, which is helpful. So it was a potpourri. It was a potpourri of a whole bunch of different things. The intuitives really helped me heal. Hearing that my son and husband are okay. They're in pure joy. They're thriving. They got different jobs. Like the one said that one of Jack's jobs was making young boys in Asia who were starving not feel their hunger. And I'm like, that makes sense. Jack was great with young kids. I could see him doing that. So it was the mix of everything, right? And just to have patience with yourself, have grace with yourself. I was blessed by a community and friends who were so supportive. And I learned, and my sacred search team, here's a key lesson that I learned that I want, to take with me on anyone I know who experiences grief. During the search, I had 7 people come out with me for 3 years, and 6 of them I didn't know before this happened. There was a dog handler and his search dog, a general contractor who drove the caterpillars, a woman who lost her house in the mudslide, an intuitive, Catherine, came out, and then a scout dad, and then Allison and Jock, who were neighbors. And so it's kind of, if I said to you, Irene, it's 2025, my son's missing. Will you go out with me until 2028 every 2 weeks to look for my missing son? Not many hands would go up. These people showed up. It's like what Mr. Rogers says, look for the helpers. They showed up and they went with me on this journey. And at one point, it was 2 years in, and the piles, we'd been getting through them all, right? So you're looking around and there wasn't obvious piles that we knew we needed to search with the excavator. And so I had left after an afternoon of searching with Anne and Sherry, and I had to go pick Lauren up at school. And one of them said to the other, as they look around and don't see many piles, I think Anne said to Sherry, or Sherry said to Anne, when do we think we're going to be done here? Right? It'd been 2 years. And the other one said the most profound thing. She said, when Kim tells us we're done. And what was profound in that is they were going to show up on my grief journey as long as I needed it, not as long as they needed to do it. And so everyone's grief journey is different. The timeline's different. And so I want to lean into that learning of, I want to show up for someone in their grief journey, how long they need it. Because some people say, hey, just get over it. It's been a year. Start dating. Do this, right? No, everyone's different. And that was such a learning.
That's amazing. It sounds like this profound experience has changed your attitudes from that Kim who had everything set, wonderful. She had the great life, and you were grateful for that. But this is a whole different.
Irene, I would say I was corporate Kim before. I was all business, corporate Kim, holding the family together. I love my family, but I was more corporate Kim, corporate. Now I'm human Kim. I'm human Kim.
Deepened,
Mm-hmm.
very much deepened, and grateful for everything, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, oh yeah, and anything. Looking at a flower bloom, it's just more. Sometimes like that is magnificent.
Right. I can identify, Kim. Wow, can I identify? Let me. I also want to know. Would you want to talk about any of the causes that you are, because your life has become so much richer, even to the depth of your soul. So now you switch from corporate Kim to like, now you're making such a difference.
There would be no growth for me to go back to. I could do that job with one eye open, but there would be no personal growth. And so I don't want to go back to the corporate world, but I do want to. I found a way to use those skills in a way that's more meaningful. As a customer I used to work with in medical device, a surgeon, is working at One Legacy, which is the number one procurement facility to help with organ tissue and eye donation. It's in Southern California, but I think it leads in the United States. And every person who decides to donate, can save a life, and some donors can save 5 lives through the donation.
Wow.
And so he said, could you be on the board of directors? Because they wanted my business acumen to help. And I'm like, you know what? If that helps someone have their life saved and their families have their family, loved ones longer, I'm all in. So I help with that, and that's been really rewarding. I'm starting my second book.
Good for you. Come back.
Yeah, I've got to get it. I've got to, do it. But and just yeah, and just see. I'm just going to see what my next chapter is going to be. Doing the speaking is rewarding if it helps people. The people in Texas, gosh, my heart bleeds for them. And
Tell us about that, because now you have some kind of special wisdom, and they've had these devastating wildfires in Southern California and Texas. So how are you transferring what you've learned to help?
I'm reaching out. Actually, I had just reached out to a fire chief today. I said, the local one here, and I said, Pat, I said, how do I let people know in Texas that if they need me to come there, or speak, or whatever they need that would help them, just let them know I'm here. I know what it feels to be washed away. I know what it feels to have a loved one missing from that, and that I'm still standing. And so we're trying to make contact. If they need it, that's great. If they don't, that's fine. All I want to be is helpful, when so many were kind and helpful for me, and that was healing. Or like in the fire situation, I've certainly made some calls to people, and like my sister's friend from long ago, they lost their house in the Pacific Palisades, and my sister was like, "Well, I don't want to bug her," and I said, "Pam," I said, let her know. Is she okay? Does she need to come stay at my house in Santa Barbara? Does she need a place? Like, don't assume someone else is going to do it, right? And that you're going to bother them. They can always say no, but they might need the help.
And did they?
They had a place that they got, but they appreciated the offer.
That's wonderful. And I want to ask you, because you've really done so much with healing. So
Yeah.
what have you learned about the gifts that emerge through the process of healing? And how do they help make the deep, painful, and it's painful work of true healing feel worthwhile and transformative? Why should people listening to this podcast consider getting healing for themselves with whatever's going on in their lives?
Oh, you've got to do the work. It is not as hard as you think it might be. Some people are terrified, if I do the work, I have to relive it. No, it's not going to be as hard as you think. Some things, like a somatic touch, almost feels like a massage, but you're like, wow, it's like I'm calmer. My nervous system's more regulated. Things will soften for you. And there's that book called The Body Keeps the Score. If you don't deal with it, it will come out in your body in another way, in a way you probably don't want it, a cancer or whatever. And And so I think even my daughter would say, I'm a more chill person. I can handle, I don't get as reactive as maybe I would have been, someone cutting me off on the freeway.
Right.
I can handle it better. Whereas before I'd be like, jarred. But
I think it also makes you, from my own experience, would you agree? It makes you more accepting of people and their stuff. You understand that people are coming to you with a history or whatever's happened. And if they're unhealed, it has nothing to do with you personally. They're playing out until they heal it. They're playing out their experiences.
And
right?
Irene, it's interesting. So I went into it for healing of the mudslide. On some of the trauma work, what comes out is stuff from your early childhood. And you're like, where's that coming from? But what a gift it is to heal that. Like, it's just right. So you want to learn and grow.
And you're like unburdening yourself.
Unburdening. Yeah, it is. And you do have a different perspective. You are more, I think I'm more empathetic and compassionate when I see people behave in a certain way going, I wonder what happened to them to you don't know what that backstory is, but people don't intentionally, wake up in the morning saying, I want to be a jerk. They don't.
Okay. Oh, tell me, what is the Kim tip for finding joy in life?
Oh, the Kim tip, try to just stay present. Just be present. Stay in the moment. Don't futurescape of like everything that should happen, and don't think back or have many regrets. It's a waste of time. The biggest gift is to be, I think, in the moment, grateful for what you have. Yeah, just try to be as grounded and present as you can be.
Again, that's beautiful. Thank you, Kim. As we close, I'd like to reflect on a very moving passage from your extraordinary book, Where Yellow Flowers Bloom, A Journey of Hope Through Unimaginable Loss. I like to think that Dave and Jack are around Lauren and me all the time, simply at a frequency I can't see. I imagine them as two guardian angels watching over us. I celebrate their lives, and I am grateful for the love we shared. I honor their lives by how I live out mine. Kim, your journey is not only one of survival, but of soulful transformation, a life now richer in meaning, connection, and grace. Thank you for so generously sharing your strength, your insights, and your heart with the Grief and Rebirth podcast community today. And from my heart, I wish you warmest blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Grief and Rebirth. Remember, you can dive deeper into everything we've discussed by checking out the show notes and all past episodes at ireneweinberg.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Irene S. Weinberg on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and wherever you love to hang out online. Plus, we're on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe and never miss a video. For those of you listening, you'll find links to my 2 books, Good to the Last Drop and They Serve Bagels in Heaven, in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see those books listed right above, so don't miss out. And here comes a special treat. If you sign up for Audible as a first-time user using my link, which you can find in the show notes, you can get They Serve Bagels in Heaven for free. And finally, people often ask me what I read, what I use, and what I recommend for healing and self-care. So I've carefully curated a compilation of those items to share with you. You can head over to kit.co/grief and rebirth to check them out. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, many blessings.